I tell you solemnly, insofar as you did this to one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did it to me. You know, I first saw her through the side door at Knox. She was a forlorn figure. I thought at first she had to be homeless. She had on a gray, nondescript coat, and she was seated on the Waterloo steps. Then I looked more closely, and I saw that she was bald. I wondered, I thought, had she come for information about the Whig ministry? I unlocked the door, and I went out to her. She looked very sad. And when she turned in my direction, I spoke to her, and yes, she had come about the Whig ministry. So I brought her inside and sat her down in the office and took her information. I could see that she was being very brave and that she was devastated about losing all of her hair. So when I got her information down, I asked her if she'd like me to pray for her. Yes, please. So we prayed together. Time came for her to be on her way, and she left. You know, it's one thing to be aware of cancer and hair loss. It's another trying to see someone handle it. The encounter affected me, and I moved from knowing about it into being a supporter of Knox's cancer care mission. So I followed up with the volunteers, and I asked about her. And yes, she had come. And yes, they had fitted her with a perfect wig for her. And the good news was this: she left on cloud 9. You know, I only had one theology professor that was scared of the parables of Jesus, and one in particular. It was this parable about the sheep and the goats. What was it about this parable that disturbed one of the funniest professors I've ever seen in my life, Dr. Charles Hay, principal of the college? You see, at the Last Judgment, there are going to be those who claim to be Christian, to whom Jesus would say, I never knew you. In the Egyptian Book of the Dead and the teaching of the rabbis before Jesus, they teach that works of mercy will be the deciding factor in how we are to be judged by the Almighty. And the list of good works is roughly similar, but with a mighty difference. The dead man, after his death and now before God, boasts confidently about his good deeds. He believes he's given satisfaction to God by doing that in which God delights. He says, I have given bread to the hungry, water to the thirsty, I've clothed the naked. And he expects to be justified. But in Jesus' parable of the Last Judgment, there's another theme set against this self-righteous boasting. The ones who actually do good deeds are unconscious about their goodness. That's why Jesus says when they did these good things for him, they're absolutely blown away. They say, whenever did we see you hungry or thirsty and give you food and drink? And Jesus says, I tell you most solemnly, insofar as you did it to one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did it to me. Now, Jesus saw these least of these in the widest of terms. They include today the sick, the poor, the unloved, the refugees in Gaza, Israel, and the Ukraine, the refugees in the Sudan, and yes, the woman on the Waterloo steps. The least. And for people who look after the least of these, they're not doing it for merit points. Whoops, there's another one. Did a good deed for today. They're not anywhere close to that. They are unconscious about how good they are. Isn't that fabulous? Unconscious goodness. You know, Mother Teresa understood this. That's why she went about the streets of Calcutta to find the dying and give them shelter. She believed that when she did this, it was Jesus she saw in the eyes of the dying. She knew all about the least of these. You know, Bobby was a 5-year-old child. He had chemo treatments for his cancer, and he had lost all of his hair. He was about to undergo another painful treatment, and he asked his doctor whether he could recite the 23rd Psalm during the treatment. The doctor agreed. And he was as good as gold while he received this painful procedure, reciting it beautifully. Suddenly, Bobby asked the doctor, could he recite the 23rd Psalm? Well, I don't know. I think so, the doctor stumbled. And he did it, while those in white coats around little Bobby began to shift uneasily in case they were to be next. Then little Bobby, beautiful and bald in his innocence, said to them all, you know, you should really learn the 23rd Psalm by heart, because when you say it out loud, God hears you and lets you know inside your heart that He is being strong for you when you can't be strong for yourself. On our best days, that's what we try to do at Knox. We try to be strong for you. And the 23rd Psalm and a wig can make all the difference in the world. The Lord is my shepherd. He makes me to lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for His name's sake. And though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for Thou art with me. Thy rod and Thy staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, and probably a wig. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.